This is A Course in Miracles. It is a required course. Only the time you take it is voluntary. Free will does not mean that you can establish the curriculum. It means only that you can elect what you want to take at a given time. The course does not aim at teaching the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. The opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. This course can therefore be summed up very simply in this way. Nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
Okay. A reading from chapter 14, Teaching for the Truth. Section 11, The Test of Truth. Yet the essential thing is learning that you do not know. Knowledge is power, and all power is of God. You who have tried to keep power for yourself have lost it. You still have the power, but you have interposed so much between it and your awareness of it that you cannot use it. Everything you have taught yourself has made your power more and more obscure to you. You know not what it is nor where. You have made a semblance of power and a show of strength so pitiful that it must fail you. For power is not a seeming strength, and truth is beyond semblance of any kind. Yet all that stands between you and the power of God in you is but your learning of the false and your attempts to undo the true. So, basically it's telling us we don't know, and we better just let it go. On that paragraph,
There's some hidden stuff in there. There's an implication. You who have tried to keep power for yourself have lost it. You who have tried to keep power for yourself have lost it. That sounds like a coup.
Yeah, well, that's true. It does sound like a coup.
It sounds like we tried to do a number.
Yeah, as soon as we claim power by our own free will to appear to be separate, and I can do it myself. It's just the 2-year-old saying, I can do it myself. That's sort of where we're at.
Well, or the manna from heaven thing where, God said he would provide for the Hebrews or whatever in the desert, and they harvested all up the manna and tried to save it, and they put it in silos and stuff like that, but it rotted.
Yeah.
And so we've tried to keep a certain sort of consciousness or spiritual power or effectiveness or creativity or something, and it rotted. It fell apart. It doesn't work.
Right.
It doesn't work in isolation. It's the vine and the branches thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Paragraph 2?
Yeah.
Be willing then for all of it to be undone, and be glad that you are not bound to it forever. For you have taught yourself how to imprison the Son of God, a lesson so unthinkable that only the insane in deepest sleep could even dream of it. Can God learn how not to be God? And can his Son, given all power by him, learn to be powerless? What have you taught yourself that you can possibly prefer to keep in place of what you have and what you are? Okay, so let's go into this a little bit.
Okay.
There's the
the
obvious.
first sentence,
right.
Be willing then for it all to be undone, and be glad that you're not bound to it. The willingness to have everything that I thought I knew to be undone is a big deal. It's a big deal in order to that as soon as if you try to do it sort of on your own, to have say, oh, okay, so I just let it all go, or whatever, however you want to say to it. If I want to try and be willing without knowing that I have to enjoin myself with the Holy Spirit, I could be causing a conflagration where I'm just actually making it worse, because the ego is going to rebuttal that. It's going to come up and say, what do you mean undone? I know things. I know what I'm doing. It naturally wants to regain its own sovereignty that it thinks it has.
Well, the ego does have a form of sovereignty.
Mm-hmm.
It just happens to be, I guess, an insane asylum.
Yeah. Well,
So that the ego we have every proof in this world. And this is the deal. This is what this whole chapter, which I didn't really read all that well, this section. I didn't. But it seems to me that it's all about saying that you got yourself in a position and you're all learned into it. Mm-hmm. And it is absolutely impossible for you to get out. It's impossible. And if I were to draw a comparison to it, I've told you about this before, and you know the deal, learning typing.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
If they tell you, the first thing you do not look at your hands. Do
That's
not
right.
look at the keyboard.
Yeah.
Do not look at the keyboard. You look at the paper, and the first typing test you do, you got 3 words a minute, and you're and 25 mistakes. That's the first thing. It's essential to learn how to type, not to do that. Now, there are always some people there that ace all their first tests.
Yeah, because they're poking like that.
By sneaking a peek at their hands
Yeah.
and at the keyboard.
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is they become experts at hunt and peck, and you cannot get past, at the absolute maximum, you get to 45 words a minute. Hunt and peck, fastest. The point being that we have done a sort of a hunt and peck number here. You know, that there is a mastery possible here. There are physical skills, intellectual skills, even spiritual awarenesses that are possible here. The Course is saying you have cheated and cheated and cheated in terms of the typing test, and there is no way out for you. And you realize there's no way you can go from 35 words a minute typing test, if you're looking at your hands, to 80 words a minute. Right. You'll never, ever, ever get there.
Right.
So the reason I go into that is we've got to understand that all the grain of how I've learned, what I know, how I know it, and how I know that I know, none of it works.
Right.
None of this works. So we are essentially completely blindfolded in a brand new...
But if we could really believe that none of it works, we'd be willing to have it undone. The thing of it is that we think it does work.
No, we think we can go from 35 to 80 but without going back to 1.
Yeah.
2 words a minute.
Yeah. And let's see. For you have taught yourself how to imprison the Son of God, a lesson so unthinkable that only the insane in deepest sleep could even dream of it. Yeah.
So that says something for us.
Oh, yeah. Imprison the Son of God. How could you do that?
Okay, I know, but that gets into this whole, that gets into the prison planet thing.
Yeah.
Is that the purpose here? Is that what this is about? It doesn't matter. It's out of the scope of the Course.
Right. No, I actually think that it is designed to keep us asleep. That it takes questioning reality. It takes questioning reality in order to begin to wake up. Because if you don't want to question what you know and what you don't know, and just say, I've accumulated all this knowledge, of course I know what I'm up to. If you're not willing to say, hey, I don't know, you're going to stay in the prison.
These two paragraphs, they put us directly in essentially really a helpless place.
Right.
I got to realize that you can't get there. I don't know. I can't smart my way there.
Right, and it's going to help us go
ahead.
To go on. Anyway,
Do 3.
There is all of that. And paragraph 3, atonement, which is also at one-ment, or coming together at one with God, teaches you how to escape forever from everything that you have taught yourself in the past by showing you only what you are now. Learning has been accomplished before its effects are manifest. Learning is therefore in the past, but its influence determines the present by giving it whatever meaning it holds for you. Your learning gives the present no meaning at all. Nothing you have ever learned can help you understand the present or teach you how to undo the past. Your past is what you have taught yourself. Let it all go. Do not attempt to understand any event or anything or anyone in its light, for the darkness in which you try to see can only obscure. Put no confidence at all in darkness to illuminate your understanding, for if you do, you contradict the light, and thereby think you see the darkness. Yet darkness cannot be seen, for it is nothing more than a condition in which seeing becomes impossible. Basically, all my learning of in a past-future reference, it doesn't have any meaning at all. I have to come to that understanding.
Do you understand? It's difficult to grasp this. Okay, you got to let's go back. This is so radical. I'm sitting here. I've learned and learned and learned the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s. I've learned things. I've learned how to be in this world. I've learned everything about it. Every wrinkle in my brain is set up to live a certain way. All of that, according to the Course in Miracles, is basically a junk pile.
Yeah.
It's worthless crap. It's meaningless. It's useless. It doesn't help you. Your psychology, your spirituality, your religion, nothing helps. Nothing helps you understand. In other words, we're talking about a quantum change in how you learn. In this one, you're literally going to Guruji, Holy Spirit. You're going to the great Mahasiddha, Guru. You're going to the Holy Spirit alone.
Yeah.
There can be any interpretations I have of, like, okay, let's say new physics, or an understanding of this as a game, or any of these understandings. All of these are the what I'm going to call the prison planet rules.
Yeah.
They're the rules. None of them are of value. Now, the thing is, you can go places here.
Right.
I can become, I don't think I can, but somebody can become a great Course in Miracles teacher by learning the lingo and applying it to here, applying it to this planet.
Right. Because it always is going to take you out of the past, present reference point to an eternal now reference point. And the only way that is done is undoing all that I thought that I am and that I know and all of those things. It's an undoing.
Well, let me do a quick summary, a very, very, and this will be a quick summary. The usual way we're set up is I am a subject in a world of objects, okay? I'm in a world of objects. There's a sofa, there's a lamp, there's my wife, there's lights, there's windows. I am the center of this. I'm the center of that universe. The Course suggests, my best understanding, the best way to view it is to reverse subject and object. In fact, what that is, what I'm going through are simplified, stupid behaviors of an object that has learned to become objectified in a three-dimensional space. I'm the object. All of that is potentially the subject.
Oh, that's true.
See, all of this around me is potentially the subject,
Yeah.
which observes me.
Yes.
But I have to understand the observation. I have to understand the subjectness of the world that surrounds me. I cannot go through, when I wake up in the morning, I can't say, hey, Phil, you're in charge. Go after it, boy. You know, you're going to do your Course in Miracles. You're going to be on that mantra. No. Then I'm pretending that I'm the subject. No, I'm the object here. I'm the object of a subject that I have to learn to become friends with. I have to learn to bring myself to that subject, through the ministration of the Holy Spirit. Do you see? It's a total reversal of subject-object. Does that make sense?
I'm not quite following. I'll be real honest. Okay.
When I look at you, this is the deal. I'm looking at you, and I assume that you are you're not a subject. You can't be a subject because I'm the one that says I. I can't say I for you.
Oh, right, yes.
So I'm the subject.
Oh, yes.
You're the object. You're this
Okay.
girl over there that I met some 10 years ago or whatever.
Right,
You're this thing. You like this thing, but it's a thing. Hey, came into my life. Where'd this thing come from? It's the subject, the object. I'm the subject. You're the object.
Yes.
We're trapped in this.
Okay.
It's no judgment on Phil.
Yeah.
We all do it. There's a lamp. There's my wife.
Yeah.
Lamp, wife. They're all objects. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
They're all objects. Now, the Course is saying, I look at you, and everything in me is entrained to look at your face, your smile, remember my past, my history, and all these kinds of things. And the Course is saying, throw it out on the heap, man. It's useless. She is potentially subject. I become object. In other words, I don't know what I'm looking at because my looking is useless. My looking is a gig that I do here on planet prison.
Okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
When I look at you, you are potentially, only potentially, subject. In other words, I can see myself. I can see my subjectness in her.
Yeah. Okay.
I can see it. But I can't just go look at her, oh, she's so happy and smiling. I guess I'm happy and smiling. That's narcissism.
Yes.
That's not a reversal. The reversal is, give me another way to look at this. This is this agency, this way up there, Guruji, up there in the sky. This thing that's outside of this realm is coming and says, I say, give me another way to look at Joanna. Now, usually we do this at critical moments.
Yes, we do.
But I'm going to say, give me another way to look at Joanna. And I'm telling you, there's a way to melt my perceptual, soften my perceptual ground, which is an illusion. Soften it. Holy Spirit, come in.
If you soften it enough, it all becomes you.
And you get goosebumps. You start to tear up.
Yeah.
Your eyes go teary because you go, I was wrong.
Yeah.
I didn't know what you were.
Right. And therefore you didn't know what you were.
I was operating like an idiot blind man in a stumbling through a room of boxes, pretending that I'm an Olympic athlete.
Right. Yes.
So.
Okay. Well, it says your learning gives the present no meaning at all. Nothing you have ever learned can help you understand the present or teach you how to undo the past.
So paragraph 4.
Yeah, go on.
You who have not yet brought all of the darkness you have taught yourself into the light in you can hardly judge the truth and value of this course. Yet God did not abandon you. And so you have another lesson sent from him, already learned for every child of light by him to whom God gave it. Let me go through that one slowly.
Okay.
And so you have another lesson sent from him, God, already, or the Holy Spirit, already learned for every child of light by him to whom God gave it. We'll talk about it later. This lesson shines with God's glory, for in it lies his power, which he shares so gladly with his Son. Learn of his happiness, which is yours. But to accomplish this, all your dark lessons must be brought willingly to truth and joyously laid down by hands open to receive, not closed to take.
So there's your instructions. That's what it is.
Every dark lesson that you bring to him who teaches light, he will accept from you because you do not want it, and he will gladly exchange each one for the bright lesson he has learned for you. Never believe that any lesson you have learned apart from him means anything. I mean, start from the last line, and we can look at some others. Never believe that any lesson you have ever learned apart from him means anything. Now, I can abstractly look at that and say, the math, the trigonometry, the algebra, blah, 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 the psychology. No. Anything I've ever done where I was not immersed in that softening of perceptual ground, anything I've ever learned that wasn't in that trans-dimensional softness of perception is meaningless.
Right.
Because
Good point.
I'm bringing a hard brain to it, and the hard brain is a rockhead. It doesn't learn anything. It's not going anywhere. So that's what this is about. And these lessons are dynamic. We can talk about the book. Wow, mind blown, man. Mind blown. Oh my gosh. That one was heavy. That's not what it's talking about.
Yeah.
It's talking about the sonship. It's talking about living my life. The curriculum is life.
Yeah, it is. And it's all a remembering of who and what we really are. All of it's designed to say, when he's talking about him in the end there, the son is you. It's me. You know, those, I forget where it was, but anyway. And in this section also, it's telling me the way that I come to a remembrance of who and what I really am is to bring all my dark lessons willingly to truth.
What's a dark lesson?
Because
What's a dark lesson?
A dark lesson is anything where I'm in any states of anxiety or fear. They're always triggering me. Anything that triggers me, even a little bit, is a dark lesson. That whenever that comes up, that means time to call in the guard and say,
I got a dark lesson for you.
Okay.
Hey, Phil, tell me about yourself. Well, let's see now. I'm 6'3". I went through architecture school. I was an architect for a few years. I like to draw. I like painting. I do. Well, I don't really like it, but that's a dark lesson.
Okay.
That's a dark lesson. That's not who or what I am. I don't know who or what I am.
Okay.
And you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We easily just groove on that, and we just say, I know some things. And it's saying, you don't know anything.
Right, but for me, the only way I can know that I've been presented with a dark lesson,
Right, the bad feelings,
is because I'm not at peace, and that's the only way. That's the only way I have a trigger in my mind to go, I need some help, because otherwise, I'm perpetually in the body identification of
another
walking
dark
through
lesson
the world in my time-space continuum.
I know, but another dark lesson is something like, I'm only human. I mean, you've only got so much energy, and then you burn out. My attention span is limited. Anything with limits attached, as we've discussed, at least that's my little pet deal,
Yes.
is guilt.
Yes.
Anything
that's
that
right.
has to do with limits is buying into the fact that I am not the Holy Son of God himself, whose function is to save the world,
Right.
heal and save everything. Now, obviously, it's grandiose if moi, the so-called subject, which is really just a chunk of flesh in the room, I don't earn the right to claim that I am the I am, the subject. The subject, I have to learn that by becoming one with her, with this, with this room, the table. I have to become one with this through that softening. Anything I've learned outside of that is a dark lesson. Anything is a dark lesson. Now, the thing is, as you said, and I've said that myself a bunch, the only way you really, really know is if you do cut yourself on the world, and then you go, wow, I learned a dark lesson. I need to fix that one.
Yeah.
But
They don't have to be so harsh. They just have to be, to me, is to know where the toggle is to know that almost every instance in almost most people's lives, unless they've already reached, a level of guru, have levels of anxiety and stress and things like that. They're always racing through. And so until you recognize that that's what's going on and that you're not at peace, it means that you need to be relying on someone who knows what's best for you.
Well,
and to make those decisions with the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, right. And the thing I want to emphasize, and I won't be able to we need to just go on.
Okay.
But I want to say this, that not to underestimate the radical, disarming way that I must abandon all former ways of viewing how I can learn my way towards something,
Right.
work my way towards something. This is pure partnership. And
Yeah.
it's partnership with an entity that I have to learn the nature of that relationship
Right.
in me.
Yeah, because it's already there. The Holy Spirit's already there. Now it's just, let's remove some covers too. And all the covers are all the ideas that I learned.
I have been practicing, more frequently. And that's why I'm saying, for me at this point, I'm sure it will evolve. I have no doubt that it will evolve. That for me at this point, it has to do with that softening of perception. And then recognizing that the hard eyes that I place on the world around me needs to be reversed. I need to recognize that this is a world of smiles that's coming at me, shining. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't get it. And so, and I say, okay, wow, this doesn't look like
Obviously,
smiles
you
to
don't
me.
see all the smiling
Right.
things
No,
until you
no,
change
that's
it.
why, you have to assume the smiles are there. You
Right.
have to assume that the smiles are there. Of course there's no smiles. I'm bored. It's tedious. I don't want to be here. All that kind of stuff. When that happens, many, many times, but it's a certain space. It's a certain kind of a groove or a vibration or whatever, or perceptual softness.
And this perceptual softness happens when you start to remove your judgments upon
The
it.
environment reveals.
You don't do comparison and judgment with everything that you look at. You start to just hold off that thought.
The smile that is implicit in the world around me, because we were not abandoned by God, as it says here, even though we would have been fine if he abandoned us because we were witless. We didn't know one thing from another. But God didn't abandon us, meaning the smile of God that we inherited deep down inside is implicit and latent in everything. And it reveals itself if you go through this almost an anti-perceptual process.
Yeah, it starts to feel like you're all in a movie.
Yeah.
You're all just in a big movie.
Yeah.
And you're already safe. Okay, paragraph 5. You have one test, as sure as God, by which to recognize if what you learned is true. If you are wholly free of fear of any kind, and if all those who meet or even think of you share in your perfect peace, then you can be sure that you have learned God's lesson and not your own. I'm going to repeat that because this is important. You have one test, as sure as God, by which to recognize if what you learned is true. If you're wholly free of fear of any kind, and if all those who meet or even think of you share in your perfect peace, then you can be sure that you have learned God's lesson and not your own. Unless all this is true, there are dark lessons in your mind that hurt and hinder you and everyone around you. The absence of perfect peace means but one thing. You think you do not will for God's Son what his Father wills for him. So we think that that God's will, the will of God for God's Son, he doesn't will for him, which is us. Every dark lesson teaches this in one form or another, and each bright lesson with which the Holy Spirit will replace the dark ones you do not accept teaches you that you will with the Father and his Son.
Now, obviously, you can say, is it safe to say that everybody flunks the test?
Yeah.
For the most part.
Yeah, everyone flunks.
Let's just start there.
Yeah.
Everybody flunks the test. Of course, it said your essential thing. Learning, you do not know. It said it in the first line of this
Right.
section. So we all flunk the test. But is it unreasonable as a test? Is it unreasonable as a test?
No, it's not unreasonable because you do not do it alone. Once you recognize that everything is, I already have everything. I just don't know I have everything, which means that the Holy Spirit is in me. The peace of God is in me. The love of God is in me. The ability to forgive all that I see is in me. I just don't know it until I apply and know that I'm in partnership. one and one, hook those arms with the Holy Spirit. I think that I'm going to be able to do this thing where I can become wholly free of fear with my little self. No, that's impossible. The body, just by thinking my body mind thinking it's separate, is immediately going to be in fear because
the only way that you can abandon fear is if you are the only one you're dealing with.
Yeah.
In other words, if I'm unified with the sonship, then I have no fear because we're all here. There's nothing. There are no aliens in the picture.
And not only that, but once you know that you're eternal, that the body is just a thing that you're occupying to have this experience of remembering, then until that dawns on the mind completely, which happens to happen in those places of peace, in those places where the now, the Holy Spirit creates that instance of now. It creates that space between the past and the present where it opens up. Now, I remember. At first, those are moments. The whole idea with the Course to me is to have more frequent of those moments so that the remembrance of me as God's Son, as one, that I've never left that. It's always been with me. It's all around me, and it's in me. When that happens, you're at peace because nothing can touch you.
Well, yesterday I went and I shot some baskets over at the community center. And I tried to maintain this space, okay? I tried to hold on to this space, what I'm calling that softness of perception.
Yeah.
And I could tell when I wasn't there because a curtain would fall down. A curtain would fall in my perception. Like I pull in the parking lot, it was packed with cars. And I'm going, well, there's going to be no goals open. There's, because they're having an event. I said, well, okay, that's a curtain falling on my perception. I said, I came over here to do this thing. I'm just going to go through the motions. So I go into the gym, and sure enough, it was packed with little kids. It was a basketball day for the kids. And there was no free shooting. In other words, I'm not allowed to shoot. And so I run into a kid that was working there, had a whistle around his neck, and high school age. And I go, kid, are there any balls available? And he goes, there's no free shoot. And I kind of glanced over because there were obviously goals open on the other side. And I go, are you, and he goes, well, I guess you could shoot on a side goal. This is what he said. I guess you could shoot on a side goal. I said, could you get me a ball? And he got this ball, gave me the ball. Now, the whole interaction, I'm telling you this, is because I did not feel like I was dealing with another person. I felt like I was dealing with he and I unified in an interaction.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
It was shooting basketball at the community center was happening.
Yeah.
Phil wasn't trying to get his needs met. Kid wasn't trying to defend his territory.
Right.
It was just shooting at the community center. That was like the activity.
Right.
And when I left, I shot on the side goal. I respected what he said. I did what he did. And when I left, I'm just saying, I felt like he loved me.
Yeah. No, those are great.
Those
are great moments. I tell you what, those are great.
I loved him. Now, just for that, I'm not going to, like I said, we're not going to be best buds. It's just, I think a space when all of our interactions are more in that family. I'm sure that's not the epitome. That's
but
flawed.
Let me tell you, every time those things happen, the sonship is healed. Every single time those little things happen, a little spark goes out to heal the sonship.
Well, that's how it feels.
When we don't have expectation, we're willing to walk in that unknowing space to every situation and say, I don't have to have it be my way. I don't have to have the speech happen the way I want to, the YouTube happen the way we want to, if we just let our judgments go on those things, the universe responds in a loving way. And that is the loving way. It happened in that very instance.
And the difficulty is talking about it turns it into an object of discussion. When I'm saying it's an inner feeling of lightness in an interaction. It can be with the mailman, it can be with Tony, it can be with the kid.
I know.
Wherever it is.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, paragraph 6. Do not be concerned about how you can learn a lesson so completely different from everything that you have taught yourself. How would you know? Your part is very simple. You need only recognize that everything you learned you do not want.
There you go.
Ask to be taught, and do not use your experiences to confirm what you have learned. When your peace is threatened or disturbed in any way, say this to yourself, I do not know what anything, including this, means. And so I do not know how to respond to it. And I will not use my own past learning as the light to guide me now. Back to the basketball thing. I pulled up in the parking lot. I almost drove on. And I said, well, I guess I was wrong. Okay.
Right.
Crowded parking lot, knee-jerk reaction, deductive reasoning, useless.
Right.
I said, okay, that's not right. What's not right is I'm using deductive reasoning to guide my decision-making. I decided to go shoot, right? So I go down there, and I was correct.
Yeah.
However, there was space.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of space in that correctness, that deductive thought.
Yeah.
That's what the miracle is. It's space.
I agree 100%. And this is a little italics that I do not know what anything, including this, means. And so I do not know how to respond to it. And I will not use my own past learning as the light to guide me now. That is essential to go and
You could write this down right before you. Let's say you go to the doctor's office, and
no, that's a good one, because there's usually anxiety as soon as anybody's
prepare yourself,
Absolutely.
saying no, we're going to the doctor's office, and I'm in an interaction with the medical field and with myself, and I just have this ready. And even before you go in, you can say it, and then after you get whatever, bill of health or nightmare. I just talked with my sister about her experience where they said they wanted to ship her down to the heart lab because there was a little blip on her EKG, and she was going, I was terrified. She suddenly thought she was going to die because they saw a blip on her EKG. I said, how do you feel?
Now she has a heart problem.
Yeah, right. I said, how do you feel? I mean, the test is, how do you feel? She says, I feel fine. So you can say that. It's like, I don't know what anything, including this, I don't know what it means. I don't know. That's like lesson 1 in the workbook.
Right. And there's a little bit more to that sentence.
I'm sorry. By this refusal to attempt to teach yourself what you do not know, the guide whom God has given you will speak to you. He will take his rightful place in your awareness the instant you abandon it and offer it to him. Yeah. He will take his place in your awareness.
I know.
And it feels differently. It's more comprehensive.
Yeah.
It's more relational. It's more subject-oriented and less object-oriented.
Well, by saying that phrase right there, that you do not know what anything, including this, means, it offers, that is the offer to the Holy Spirit, because as soon as you say, I don't know, and you're leaving it a space, the Holy Spirit will come in. And I think that your example of the basketball court and the community center was great, because many miracles are still miracles, and there's no order of difficulty in miracles.
Well, I also want to say the other aspect of the curriculum. The other aspect of your curriculum, my curriculum, your curriculum, all of our curricula, is God is going to give me lessons that will help me and not burn me into saying, Phil, you stupid idiot, get rid of that book and go down to Prudential and get an insurance policy or whatever.
Right.
It won't lock me into the prison planet. It will free me. The lessons of the Holy Spirit will free me. And so if I'm vigilant for those lessons, I don't know what this is for.
Right.
Obviously you say that when you don't understand. So anyway.
Okay. Paragraph 7. You cannot be your guide to miracles, for it is you who made them necessary. And because you did, the means on which you can depend for miracles has been provided for you. God's Son can make no needs his Father will not meet if he but turn to him ever so little. Yet he cannot compel his Son to turn to him and remain himself. It is impossible that God lose his identity, for if he did, you would lose yours. And being yours, he cannot change himself, for your identity is changeless. The miracle acknowledges his changelessness by seeing his Son as he always was, and not as he would make himself, which is meaning that we're also changeless. The miracle brings the effect that only guiltlessness can bring, and thus establishes the fact that guiltlessness must be.
Well, and the thing here to remember is, and this is one of the things that we learn here, and that we have to abandon completely, and that's that God will use no form of coercive violence,
Right.
convincing. God will, Holy Spirit, Jesus.
So it's going to wait for you.
No sales pitch,
Right.
okay? No sales pitch, no convincer, no this or that. This is absolutely, I have faith in this. And that way, it weans me away from having to learn, from having to be convinced all the time. Your will gets exercised, your will strengthens, because then it's based on faith. And that faith delivered on, I have faith that, like in the case of the basketball thing, well, that reinforces my faith. That will reinforce that pure subject effort relationship in small things, as we talked about with the bed making and stuff, to try to get to where I'm living in that invitation to the Holy Spirit to explain this situation to me. It doesn't have to be a disaster all the time.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And the final sentence there, the miracle brings the effects that only guiltlessness can bring, and thus establishes the fact that guiltlessness must be. So the changelessness that we're identifying, that God only sees us as changeless because it's the same identity as himself, is also saying it has to be guiltless, because the God particle that is always me and never left its source is guiltless, because it cannot be unlike the source, which is the cause of my actual life, my life essence. Oh. Is there anything else you want to say about that? You went over the part where you cannot compel his Son to turn to him and remain himself. It is impossible that God loses his identity. Well, at any rate, the whole thing about not being, being able to, God, forcing us to
God
make
won't use coercion. God will use no coercion at all. And the thing is, we're conditioned to show me the money. Show me the money. That's, show me the proof that this works. This is the opposite of that. This is my subjective, creative decision to trust in this partnership, only because I can't believe that God would put me in Prison Planet as a torture chamber. I use a certain amount of rational thinking to deduce that perhaps there's another way to see this. Rational thought gets me there, my relative judgments of things. But if I go through a series of nightmares and go, well, it's par for the course, this is the way it is. If that's what I want to live with, that's what I get.
Well, remember, I'm give an example here. When your brother had his heart attack, and your sister, the nurse, is giving, oh God,
She said he was going to be a vegetable.
Because he literally died in front of us. And so, and we had to call 911 and everything. It was those moments of Schrodinger's cat. Okay, that's where all of a sudden it can be this or it can be this. You don't know. Really, all of our instances of those great fears and everything else that come up for us are exactly that. It's one way if we decide that our egos are in charge and we're going to charge in. It doesn't mean that you don't do anything. Of course, you take steps and everything else. But to think that I know the outcome that the Holy Spirit and everything else has for the expression of God, for us to learn, for the other person to learn and everything else, it's impossible to know. And as soon as you laid the judgments on. We listened to your sister, and she had all these terrible ideas of what happens
My
once a person
sister,
goes
and you could
in.
go online and look. My sister, and she's a nurse, and so
Yeah.
she said he'll probably be in a wheelchair the rest of his life. He'll be a
Right.
fragment of what he ever was, and instead, even the people at the hospital, he was out of the hospital in under 7 days.
Yeah.
And he had everybody shocked. Now, this isn't a guy that's a strapping picture of health by any means. He's overweight. He doesn't exercise. He doesn't eat right. He doesn't do anything very correctly. But for some reason,
Yeah.
somebody wanted him in that
Yeah,
full strength.
No, he's still supposed to be in
Yeah.
this world.
It had nothing
for
to-
us and for himself and everything else. So all I'm saying is that those moments where there's those big fear-based mirrors that are coming at us because our life is all of a sudden thrown into a bit of a chaos. If we leave it to God and the Holy Spirit and not up to what I think needs to happen, it could have been that he was supposed to pass. I mean, and then you have to look at it that's what's supposed to happen. But as soon as I make my prejudgments on it, oh, it's this, I'm interfering with God's plan for myself in seeing and being participating in a possible miracle, or my ego just allowing it to become something else.
I know, but that's a really, really good point, is because there are a lot of challenging situations, and they are invitations to be a party to a miracle. I've got to be disposed to that.
Absolutely.
And if some part of me says, come on, grow up, put on some pants, you're going to, this is sometimes...
Or even think that I know best because of
Right.
my expertise. No, you don't.
Right. Yeah. There's an amazing, the gift that can come from just being able to suspend what I know needs to happen here.
Right. We're going to continue with this section on section 11, to test the truth, in part 2. So we hope that you join us there. And we're going to take a break right now. So just a little intermission, and it'll be in another video just following this one. So take a break yourself, and we'll all be right back.
Well, and part of this is analytics-wise. When I look at the video and the way that they work out, I want to make this the most serviceable for all of us. Not only for Joanna and I, but definitely for listeners. And so if an hour and a half is long, or if an hour and 10 minutes is long, I'd rather put it up in shorter segments, and that's why we're taking a break.
Yeah, we're taking a break, and also, we could use a break.
So make a comment. If you will, make a comment about what do you think about length. Do you care one way or another?
Yeah.
Lex Friedman's are like 3 hours long.
I'm sure they take some breaks, though, in there.